Welcome guys to another World War Marvel. As you know, I'm your channel host Adam, and today I am back with another tactics video. Today we will be focusing on our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and the tactics that you may use on during your games with him on the board. Whether you use him as an objective grabber or to also disrupt your enemy lines, or maybe a little bit of both. So let's dive right into the tactics that you can use for Spider-Man. So here we are with a Spider-Man's tactics video. So let's look at his card briefly. Actually, let's look at the model briefly. So I really do enjoy this pose. It was one of my favorites that came from the core set, just because it is very dynamic and it's very fitting to the Spider-Man model from the comics and stuff. Just hanging off the I-beam and the rubble and stuff like that. It's just such a cool pose, I think. A lot of people have done conversions for him, so he's like swinging from a lamppost or something along those lines, or maybe building a wall and having him standing on a wall. So, but like Spider-Man is pretty cool. He's also, I think, a favorite of many people in the Marvel comics and even in the movies. So let's look at his card quickly. So Spider-Man, he has 5 stamina, movement of long. He has size 2, costs 4 threat. His physical, his energy, and his mystic defense are all 3. His attacks are strike, which is range 2, a power 5, 0 cost, and then he gains power for every damage dealt. Impact webbing, range 4, strength 4, 0 cost. And then after this attack is resolved, the character gains 1 power. And then on a wild, it pushes the target. Let me try that again. Push. If the target character is size 2 or less before the damage is dealt, this character may push it away short. So then he has taser webs, which is an energy attack, range 3, strength 6, and 2 cost. And then if the attack deals 1 or more damage, after it is resolved, the target character gains the stun condition. Super interesting and cool effect. He has 4 different superpowers. He has Webline, push an enemy character within range 4 towards this character short. Character can only be pushed by the superpower only once per turn. Has a cost of 2. Then he has a Web-a-Bolt. So choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both of size 2 or less, and within range 3, and throw it short. The superpower can only be used once per turn. Spider Sense. When this character is defending against a physical or energy attack or making a dodge roll, it may reroll 2 of its defense or dodge dice, and then which is always on, and then it has Wall Crawler, which is always on as well. So basically, he's equal to size 5 when he makes his climbs and stuff like that. So basically, you can go over any terrain. What do I think of Spider-Man? I think Spider-Man is going to be the type of model that you're going to use to disrupt your enemy's lines. He's going to be handing it the stun effect, not often, but often enough, which will limit, models and their power capability. So imagine the Hulk, if he doesn't have his one superpower that gives him 3 power a turn. So if he has the stun effect, it now drops down to 1 power a turn. So what that does is it limits what the Hulk can do. So basically, if you want to sort of not take somebody out of the game, but sort of impact them a little bit so they don't have the power to do their big hits, you're going to use Spider-Man to use the taser webs and hopefully stun that model. So that could be like used against anybody to a very good effect. You then have his impact webbing, which also does the push. So like what this will be doing is it's going to be pushing models short if it has the wild, if they're size 2 or less. So I think he's going to be the type of person that will sort of manipulate your opponents, whether to get them off objectives or to put them into a position where your other heroes can jump on them and attack. So yeah, let's just switch those out because I can. Excuse me. So like their impact webbing is going to be pushing the size 2 or less model away. So like basically, if you're doing it and he's down here, he's just gonna go short. over that direction. But if he's holding objective, you're now pushing him off. I guess crossbones is a bad idea. It's just because, well, I'm filming multiple videos at one time, and I had him out. But crossbones would just move back into position. But anybody else, basically, you're going to move them hopefully off of objectives or out of position where your opponent doesn't want them to be. So that's going to help sort of control the battlefield, and I think that's what Spider-Man excels at. Same with Webline. It's a range 4 ability. So, like, say somebody's sitting on objective at 8 inches away across the board, and you get Spider-Man up there. You can still pull that guy, that character, towards Spider-Man by a range of short, and from a long distance still be able to manipulate the board and control the battlefield. Web a pulse, it's the same thing. Like, if you really wanted to, if you had the power or the desire to, and you really needed to pull somebody in, you're going to use Webline followed by a Web a pulse, and that will be able to get 2 short movements. So, like, you're going, I don't know, short is, we just say 3 inches, so like 6 inches up the board. And with it being a 3x3 board, that's, let's say, a 1/6 of the way at least across the board. So, like, if you really need to pull somebody, you're going to be able to use both Webline and Web a pulse to pull / throw. Not only that, is like, you're gonna, with the throw, you're gonna be dealing damage to your opponent and everything else. So that's super, super cool. His spider sense is gonna help keep him alive with things against energy or physical attacks, which the majority of the attacks thus far are energy and physical. So that's gonna be good for keeping him alive. I don't see him so much being right in the middle of the fray with multiple opponents and stuff like that. I see him as being more the type of person to sort of be like skirmishing off to the side and manipulating and controlling the battlefield. Like I said multiple times now, I think that is his role, is that type of person. On the flip side, if you, say, wanted to get him into position, his movement long allows him to swing into position that much better to control objectives and stuff like that. So, like, you're getting him across the board in no time. Like, you could get across the board in, like, two and a bit rounds if you just dedicate it to movement. So you're going to get him into position for holding objective as well. So either, in my opinion, yes, you're going to be doing some attacks to stun everybody, but you're also going to be looking at impact webbing for pushing people away, and then Webline and Web a pulse for that board control and disruption with the stun. Or you're going to be using them to grab far objectives and hopefully deny your opponents those objectives with his movement long. There's only a few other models that have movement long that I know of at this point in time, which would be Baron Zemo and I think Black Widow are the only other ones that I can think off the top of my head. So they're going to be, like, all 3 of them will be useful for grabbing those objectives. And the fact that he has wall crawler, if there's an objective up on a building, let's say, it's going to make him that much more successful at going to claiming that objective, where other people that don't have flight or wall crawler will have to take their time to get into it. So I think that is it for Spider-Man, guys. Please check out our Patreon link down below. It allows us to do what we're doing here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ignite your hobby.